Hello, welcome to another video from Nindy's Creative Corner. Have you ever wished that your paper trimmer had the markings up here and the inch markings down here? Or if you're metric, if they had the metric up here and the metric next to the thing here. Well, today I'm going to show you what I did to fix it. Oh, and I will tell you about this part. On my trimmer handle over where the number markings are, I got tired of not being able to read it on dark cardstock. So I cut a couple of 1/4 inch strips of cardstock, and just, at the time it was snail, but I used snail to just attach it to the thing. Now I don't have trouble reading the measurements, whatever color it is. Anyway, so we are going to fix this today. You'll need 4 sheets of grid paper. They can be either the 11 by 17, which is what I'm using today, or the small grid paper, which is 6 by 6 or so. Either one will work. Actually, the 6 by 6 would be easier to work with, but since this is what I have, we are going to use it. And I've been cut it at 7 inches according to the grid paper mark right here. That will give you a little extra to work with. Now we will trim off 1/8 of an inch, so go slightly over the dark part, make sure it's straight, and trim. And then we will go 1 1/8 inches. So about halfway between the two grid marks. You can adapt it for metric. And there's one piece cut. Anyway, the short side will fit on one end and the long side will fit on the other end. Let's make sure I get the inches. You will cut it at 7 again according to the grid paper. Now this part will go on the bottom here where your paper goes. This one will be a little bit thinner because it will go up here. I guess you can make it as thick as you want, but again, trim off the 1/8 of an inch or so. And then we will trim this. So this part is over past the cutting groove, just barely. Make sure it's straight, because I've done it crooked a couple of times. And check again, make sure. Alright, now we'll use the short side. Again, trim off 1/8 of an inch. Make sure it's straight. And then we'll do 1 1/8 inches again. And make make sure it is straight. And you can still use this grid paper, it just won't have all the measurements on it. Okay, trim off 1/8 of an inch again. And then we will do again just past the, so this is just over the cutting groove dark part. There, now let's position them in place. Now if you want, you can cover them with tape of some sort. Boy, I'm always cutting this one crooked. Let me trim it real quick. Now, if you're worried about them wearing out, you can put like Scotch or packing tape on it. I'm not going to bother. I've done this with other paper trimmers in the past, and they last quite a few years. So this one will go here. Let's add some, well, we're going to do the other part first. And now we can trim off at 6 1/4. According to the grid paper, not the measurements on the trimmer. And I'm just going to use Stampin' Seal on it. I guess I'll move the paper trimmer out of the way. We'll have to go diagonally because it's longer than 6 inches. So start it out on your silicone craft sheet. And then go along the edges, up and over. Okay, now the reason we cut it this wide, well, I guess we didn't need to on this side. Yeah, we did, because we want, okay, so line up the 1 inch mark and the 2 inch marks. And trim it off. And peel it off. And just rub a little bit to get the excess sticky off. Okay, now this one, line up before we put the tape on and trim. Of course, it'll end up being trimmed about 1 inch. Let's see what happens. With the grid, it makes it easier if you have the grid lines here to help you line up everything. So yeah, we'll just trim off at the 1 inch. and cut off again at 6 1/4 according to the grid paper. So I guess when you cut these wide ones, cut at just 1 inch instead of 1 1/8. So there's a little fold up here. Okay, now we'll use some Stampin' Seal. Make sure you're putting it on the correct side. Up and over. And make sure some gets all the way on this other end. Now line up the numbers. So we want the 2 lined up. I've made so many cutting mistakes lately because I can't see on through the cardstock. And get it all the way to the end. There we go, one side's done. Okay. I guess this one is not perfectly straight. I'm just going to cut it along the grid line. And we can cut, we might as well just cut it at 6 1/4 here. Oh no, this one's a 5. So cut it at 5. Okay, let's add some Stampin' Seal. Okay, line it up with the 1 inch mark. Well, yes, along the grid line of the 1 inch mark. Trim off the excess. Okay, that didn't leave any extra. Now we'll use this part, do this part, and again we'll go ahead and trim it off at the 1 inch and 5. Well, let's do the 5 inch first so I don't get confused. And then, oh, this one doesn't seem to go as far over. No, we'll still do it at the 1 inch. Okay, now let's add our Stampin' Seal. And make sure both ends have it. Okay, good. So now line up the 2 inch mark again. I guess this end didn't get it quite as good. Okay, there we go. Okay, line up your 2-inch marks with that grid line and put it close to the edge. There we go. Now we can see our measurements much better for all of our projects. And the arm still opens. This end piece may get bent a little bit. There we go. So, I hope you enjoy being able to measure more accurately with your paper trimmer. Thanks for watching. Bye.